Welcome to the Advancing Entrepreneur. This show is all about surrounding yourself for success. Hear stories of building traction, gaining acceleration, and creating results from successful entrepreneurs who have surrounded themselves with other successful entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Annette Nightingale James.
Hello, Advancing Entrepreneurs. Annette Nightingale James back with you for another episode of the Advancing Entrepreneur Show, where we help you get traction, acceleration, and results in your business. And this is implementation time. Today, we are going to be taking yesterday's interview with Lenas, and we are going to be taking some gold nuggets out of that. And we're going to be taking the rest of the week to show you how you can implement those nuggets into your business. Remember, implementation is key to everything. So make sure that you're following along with the rest of the week's episode as we talk to you about implementing what Lena shared with us into your business so that you can succeed. All right, so this implementation series is going to be about advancing your inner circle, and today is part 1. It is time for you to look at who you're surrounding yourself with and implement an inner circle that is going to advance you forward. Well, if you haven't had a chance yet, I want you to go to iamadvancing.com, type Lena, L-E-N-A, into the search bar, and you're going to hear how Lena shared with us how her inner circle was really shaping who she is becoming, what her business is becoming, and how it is accelerating and moving her forward in her business and in her life. In fact, in yesterday's episode, she shared with us that she had to take a really hard look at who she was surrounding herself with and what factors in her business growth she could control. So the thing that she said was this: the thing we all have the most control over is who has access to us and who we have access to. So head on over to iamadvancing.com, type up Lena in the search bar, get her show notes page, get the information that she shared with us, and watch the whole episode or listen to the whole episode so that you can be caught up with us and you can understand how surrounding herself and advancing her inner circle has really affected Lena in her business. So as you might expect, Lena referenced that quote by Rohn that says, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with." And so it got me thinking about how can you implement your having a better inner circle into your business. It's kind of one of those things that sounds like a little, out there. It's something that you have to work on. It's something that takes time. All that's true, but it is all within your control. As Lena noted, it's all about the control that you have over your business and your life today. So I wanted to take this week to show you how to advance your inner circle. So part 1 is we're going to give you a lesson in the average of 5. We're going to take you tomorrow and show you how to surround yourself in person. Like, what in-person ways are there for you to surround yourself? Part 3, we're going to talk about how to surround yourself virtually. And part 4, we're going to surround yourself in an accelerated manner. So it's surround yourself accelerated fashion. And we're going to show you the number 1 best way to surround yourself and walk you step by step how to use it and implement it and take advantage of it for your business. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into today's lesson. Today's implementation strategy, a lesson in the average of 5. So as I mentioned before, Lena had referenced that quote that you're going to hear on this show a lot. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. Now, I also had a very explicit conversation with another guest who said, how is that possible for people like me who have elevated themselves to such a level? I can't possibly be, surrounding myself with people who make as much money as I do because I kind of am in that upper level. And so it got me thinking, how can you control the people who are in your life? I mean, we all have families, right? And we have kids and we have, carpool duty, and we have all these people around us every day that kind of are in our lives, through a series of choices. You decide what neighborhood you live in and all that. But maybe they're still not to that level of that person that we want to be. They're not those people who are stretching us higher. So how can we kind of go through life and still be advancing our inner circle to the point where it's stretching us and it's moving us forward, and we are becoming a higher average by virtue of who we're around? Is it possible at all? So I started doing some research on this Jim Rohn quote, and I learned some really interesting things. This whole idea of you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with is actually from the law of averages, which Jim Rohn defined as if you do something often enough, a ratio will appear. So if you see that you are asking for a sale, let's just say you're out there trying to get a sale, you're trying to get a client, and you ask enough people, you're going to start seeing that like 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of every 10 are interested in learning more. Out of those 10 people, one of them goes on to buy, etc., and so on. So if you do something enough, a ratio will start to appear. That's the law of averages. That's actually what Jim Rohn was quoting in his "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with." So we dug into that a little bit deeper. What is the law of averages and how do we use it in our business and how do we use it to advance our inner circle? So the law of averages, as per Jim Rohn, is best demonstrated by the parable of the sower from the Bible. So the parable of the sower had a couple of things that we have to know off the bat. First of all, he started with good seed. And the second thing is he started with prepared sower. So if you're not familiar, the parable of the sower is about a man who goes out and plants his crops and what happens to the seed that he plants. So he started with good seed and he started with prepared soil. He didn't just go out blindly and aimlessly and try to put this stuff out there. They were ready. They had done their due diligence, their website was up, they'd done their market research, right? Everything was ready to go. They were ready for a successful venture. So the sower was actually this position within the team of people that would take care of the crops. And so the sower would go out with the best seed and the prepared soil, and he would start to sprinkle the seed out onto the soil. And it said that the seed went 1 of 4 places. The first time that he threw seed out, it went to the birds. So if you think about, putting an offer out there, or putting an idea, or talking to a customer, the birds can be attributed as like those downers that pick off an idea before it even gets started. So I might say to somebody, you should really listen to the Advancing Entrepreneur Show. And somebody else, one of their friends or colleagues, might say, well, what's the point of that? And they might kind of pick that idea right out of that person's brain before it even has chance to take root. So the thing about the birds is they're always going to be there. It is just a part of life. It's something we have to deal with. Just account for them in your law of averages when you're working in your business. So the second place that some of your good seed might fall on prepared soil is what's called shallow soil. So, like kind of there's rocks and stuff underneath it. And as soon as the plant starts to grow, it withers and dies in the first bit of summer heat. Okay, so think about that if you get a customer started or idea started, it's something that gets started, but it fades at the first sign of hard times. Okay, so we've all been there. A customer who wants to renege right away on a contract or an agreement as soon as it's a little bit uncomfortable for them to make the monthly payment. So so the shallow soil is something that gets started, but it fades at the very first sign of hard times. Then there is throwing the soil on thorny ground. And when you sow soil on when you put the seeds on thorny ground, when the sower put them on thorny ground, they started to grow, but then they were choked out by the thorns that grow up around them. And even within the story, it tells us is that the thorns are the little cares of business. It is so sowing seeds on thorny ground is the progress that is choked out by life's little cares. Okay, the trash had to be taken out, and there was carpool for the kids, and all the different things and all the daily distractions that can come in between you and progress, in between you and your inner circle, in between you and getting that next customer. Those are the thorns in the story, all those life's little cares. And then the fourth place that soil can fall is the good ground. And the story behind the good ground is he threw it on the good ground and it thrived and it grew into the plant that it was intended to be. And the takeaway for us from that is that some seeds are always going to find their way to good ground if we keep going. So, what did we learn from this story? Well, we really learned something really interesting about the sower that is very easy to compare to entrepreneurs. We learned that the sower was ambitious. He had a desire to get those crops going, and he did not let disappointment stop him, that he continued on. He was very ambitious. We also learned that he disciplined his disappointment. And that's what we have to do in business as well, right? We have to discipline our disappointment. So, another great quote by Jim Rohn is that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So, think about that in relation to the story. It makes total sense, right? He didn't stop and chase the birds. He didn't try to dig through the rocks and get the shallow ground deeper. He didn't try to, go and pick out every single thorn. Instead, he just kept going, and he didn't quit when the first three handfuls of seeds went to the wrong place, when it was picked up by the birds, and then the shallow ground, and then the thorny ground. He didn't stop going. He pushed through that disappointment. He pushed through that lack of success, and he continued on until he bridged the gap between his goals and his accomplishment of those goals. So he was very disciplined. And the third thing that we learned about the sower is that he just kept moving. You could say that he just kept swimming.
Hey, Mr. Grumpy Gills. When life gets you down, you know what you gotta do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. What do? We swim, swim.
Dory, no singing.
Oh,
Dory.
I love to swim. And
Dory.
when you want to swim, you want
See,
to
I'm gonna get stuck now with that song. Now it's in my head.
Sorry.
Okay, so if we come back to Jim Rohn's quote that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, what does the law of averages and being, disciplined and carrying on have to do with surrounding ourselves? What does that have to do with our inner circle? Well, what I believe Jim Rohn was trying to say in this quote is that we too are subject to the law of averages. So how do we take those 3 lessons, the ambitious, the disciplined, and the, tenaciousness of the sower, and apply them to our inner circle? Well, everything is a result of an average. We're going to be subjected to the environments that we put ourselves in. We're going to be subjected to the law of averages, just like the seed in the parable was subjected to the law of averages, just like our results in business are subject to the law of averages. So the real lesson here, the real takeaway, is that we have to be proactive about advancing our inner circle. We have to put in the effort, just like we would with any other part of our business. And it is a part of our business that will really lift us up and keep going. So that was part 1 of advancing our inner circle. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to surround ourselves in person-to-person, face-to-face contact to advance the inner circle. But for now, I want you to go to iamadvancing.com, and I want you to check out our show notes page from Lenas interview on Monday, Lena in the search bar, and also type inner circle into that search bar so that you can stay up on the show notes page from this show and the rest of our implementation series for the rest of this week. Make sure that you come back tomorrow so that we can talk some more about advancing your inner circle. And while you're at iamadvancing.com, be sure that you hit the join our community button so that we can get you surrounded into an inner circle full of advancing entrepreneurs and offer you support and feedback on your entrepreneur journey. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. If you enjoyed it, leave us a rating and review. Not only will it make our day, you'll also be helping others find this show and advance their own careers. Once you're done, be sure to head on over to iamadvancing.com and join our community to learn what it takes to be an advancing entrepreneur and surround yourself for success. Thanks again, and get ready to advance.